So there can be a lot of things keeping us from doing a push-up perfectly, right? And that's actually not strange. It's actually a little bit more of a complicated move than people think. You know, it's full body, it's from the hands to the toes, so it takes a little coordination, and a lot of your body has to be working together, right? You got the elbows, the shoulders, the hips, the knees, the feet, the hands, everything, the full body. So I want to show you one where you're going to start if you haven't done push-ups and you're nowhere close. And then two, I'm going to show you some things that maybe you just can't quite get the push-up perfectly, and I'm going to show you a couple of reasons why. Let's go over a couple of reasons why you might be able to almost do a push-up but can't. And mainly what I see the most of is people's wrists aren't open enough, right? They can't really go all the way back without feeling some strain, so they end up pushing themselves back a little bit. Let me demonstrate that a little bit. So if your wrists aren't limber enough to get to that 90 degrees, which a lot of us aren't, you end up kind of fading back or pushing those hands forward. So now you're not even in the right push-up position. It's actually going to be harder to come down with a full body and come up with the full body. You're going to end up bringing it up and down in sections. You'll end up bringing up the torso, then the hips, and well, that's not a push-up. A real push-up, those hands are right under the shoulders and those wrists are at 90 degrees. They might even go a little past 90 degrees when you're at the bottom of your push-up. So first thing to tell you is make sure those wrists are open, and you might spend the first week or two getting those open, just coming into push-up position, coming out of it, and letting those wrists open. However, a lot of us aren't actually even fit enough to really start from a push-up plank. So you're just going to be opening these wrists and giving them some birth. That's the number one reason I see people not really able to do a push-up, even when they have the strength and the coordination. It's getting lost in the wrists. The other thing is on the other side of the body. It's with the toes, right? And the same thing starts to happen. You end up coming up in sections. So let me show you what that looks like. When someone's trying to do a push-up, which is all the way up and all the way down, right? The body leaves together, it comes down together. That's a push-up. Instead of that, people don't have their feet planted, or they have their knees too loose. So they end up, again, coming up in sections, right? They press up with their hands, the torso comes up, and then they start pressing up with their feet, and their knees leave, and they get up to a push-up. But that's not a push-up, coming up and down in sections. This isn't a push-up. That's like a wave, the centipede, right? That's not a push-up. So that's what happens as well on the other side. They don't dig their toes in hard enough. So you can almost do a push-up and can't quite do a push-up. How you fix that is you remember to dig your toes in as hard as you can, right? They should be pressing up the hips before you even come up. Look how my hips do that. That's hard my toes should be pointing in, hard enough to lift the hips. So we keep the toes pressed in, and hopefully you'll get your wrists open enough to where they can be at 90 degrees. So you dig in those toes, you keep these wrists open enough, and that's where you come with the push-up, and that's how it all leaves at once. The hips are already lifted by the toes that are dug in enough, the hands can press up hard enough because those wrists are loose enough to get to 90 and past, and that's the details that are stopping most people from being able to do push-ups. So let's just say you're nowhere near a push-up. Doesn't matter that your wrists are tight. Okay, you're going to loosen those up now that you know, right? So start loosening those wrists up. And yeah, you know, okay, I'm going to be digging in my feet. Those are the biggest things that keep me from being able to do a push-up once I get to the level I could hold one. But what about the people that are starting from nada, all right? You don't have tight enough wrists. Well, first of all, we're going to be opening up wrists, aren't we? And toes are an easy one. Now you're just going to go into the information that you need to press in your toes when you're doing a push-up. But where do you start? So where you start from is we get our wrists opened up enough. And we put our legs back. Now we can't do a push-up or even lower through one. So what we're going to do is we're going to start practicing and sustaining the push-up position. So you're going to be up here and you're going to hold, and that's going to give out pretty quick. either your hips or your arms, something's going to get tired and you're going to give up. And that's fine. And you're going to go back into it. And you're going to pull this belly button back and just practice keeping this flat push-up position from the top. That's all. And you're going to break into these push-ups by holding the push-up position for 10 seconds at a time and coming out of it. Now, eventually that's going to sustain, and that's going to be no problem. Congratulations, your wrists are open, you're pressing in with your feet, and you're able to hold a push-up position. But that's not a whole push-up, is it? So the other part is you're going to come down and you're going to just start pressing in your feet. You're going to be practicing the up push-up. Now this also is going to feel real ridiculous, right? It's going to feel real ridiculous because you're going to find that these muscles are shut down. And again, like when you're trying to do a sit-up or anything and haven't done in a while, it's spastic. The hips raise and the chest won't come up. The chest will raise, but the hips won't want to come up with it. So we're going to practice from the bottom. We're going to practice leaving it once. Your nose will be down. You'll be pressing your toes in harder than your hands. And you'll be just getting that push-off muscle ready. And this is as far as you're going to get. But as long as you're coming up, that's fine. So we're going to work from the top, getting your push-up muscles strong so that they can pose and hold the push-up position at the top. You're going to also come down here and you're going to start practicing your lift-off muscles, digging in those toes, pressing up with those hands. And eventually those 2 points of the push-up are going to come together. Now what you do is you just start from the top and you start doing your negatives. You come down and there's going to be this point where your muscles give out and they just drop. It's not a weakness thing, it's a coordination thing. Those muscles don't know how to bring you all the way down safely yet. So they give out because they just haven't been used in that way. So then you pay attention to where that gives out. Okay, it gives out right here. So we're going to hold right here and let this get a little fatigued. And then you're going to drop again. And then you cheat to come up. Cheating just means you don't have to do a push-up to come up. And we reset. And then you lower again, and you look for that next spot that's going to drop. Okay, I'm a little lower now, but now it wants to drop here. You starting to catch on? We've worked the muscles to come up from the very bottom. We've stabilized our position at the top and opened up the wrists. And now you're just working your way lower and lower. Once you've worked your way all the way down without skipping a beat, you just got to coordinate those same muscles that you've just developed and start coming up. Coming up. Coming up until you get your full push-up. Once you've gotten your first push-up and your second one, you're really off to the races. You're just off to the races. So what I want you to know is this isn't as easy move as you think. If you're right there and almost there, try loosening up the wrists more and remembering to press through your toes even. And if you're nowhere near a push-up and you're just now practicing, well, that's where you do it, right? You get the position right at the top, you practice the position lift-off, and once you've gotten both those, you just start doing your negative and coming lower and lower until you get your first push-ups. It's just practice, that's all. So, give that a look, give that a try. You can also check out, if you really can't do a push-up at all, you're just still at square one, check out the Good to Go Body Training Program, all right? Check out the Good to Go Body Training Program and learn all this stuff in 90 days. All right, there's some tips. I hope you got some out of that. Leave some comments, share this video. Thanks for joining me. Have a good one.